Being a creative in Nigeria is already challenging, but being a creative in two alternate industries, food and fashion, brings with it an extra challenge. My guest today thrives in both industries. He's a chef and is also a fashion stylist. So today we'll be discussing how he has been able to thrive in both industries in a country like Nigeria, his challenges, and many more juicy stuff. My name is Tosi Olani. I am your host today, and this is the Creatives Lounge.
So for somebody like me, like I run a food business, so there are riders that will constantly need to reach me.
Yeah.
If they're in a fix and they need like an immediate fix,
Yeah.
it's not nice for them to be stuck there and I call them back in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I personally hate it when I try to reach you and you're not available. I don't know. Hide your face. But yeah, that's actually the major reason for me. It's more of a business thing.
Since yesterday, my friends have just been using style to shade me. Like,
No, I don't do it. I don't do it. I mean, you actually are a crackhead, but
I'll see somebody will call me 3 days after and say,
oh, Baje, 3 days? What do you mean? Are you Jesus? Did you die and resurrect?
Sometimes I just show the phone.
Just fling it away.
Please, I can't be bothered. I think because I spend so much time on my phone, and so when I don't have some time to unplug,
yeah, just like get it away from me.
I just get it.
So that is actually very valid. So as a science student in school, a lot of people never found it hard to believe because I don't give science student vibes. In fact, if I told you that I am a nerd, you wouldn't believe me. Would you believe me if I told you that I am a nerd?
Have we started? Actually,
you've asked this question like 4 times.
I am so excited we are starting off on this note because I never expected or thought that you were a science student. So I need the backstory. How did you go from science student to kitchen Beyonce to fashion stylist? Because actually
it was actually stylist before kitchen Beyonce.
So how did you go from first question is, what did you want to study straight out of like secondary school, like going into uni? What did you study?
So let me backtrack a little bit to like before pre-secondary school.
Okay.
I was a deluded child.
Oh wow. Such a huge word.
Very, very huge, very heavy. So the thing is, I was one of those children who could do anything that they wanted to do. I was very smart, very handsy. So I felt like I could actually do anything that I wanted to do. So I was one of those children that maybe like every term their choice career changed. So I went from aeronautical engineer to I wanted to be a horticulturist, and I went from horticulturist, I wanted to be a doctor, and then I wanted to be a pharmacist. Then I went back to aeronautical engineering. So I was just like hopping through things that I knew that I thought that I wanted to do because they were interesting. Also, as a kid growing up, when all of my mates would go to like the library to go and get like novels or like kids' stories, I would go and read encyclopedias. Yes. So, and as a child, while most children were watching almost always cartoons, I would usually do like a 50-50 between cartoons and nature documentaries. Right. So that's kind of where my love for, let's say, science came into the play. Then growing older, you know this thing where, Rotimi, you're a smart boy, you will be a doctor. That's my mother. You know, so it's a very African parents thing.
All of us.
My mother was never one of those, follow your dream. What's the dream? You will be a doctor. My dad wanted him to be an engineer because my dad is an engineer. My mother wanted me to be a doctor because doctor, you know. Yeah. So we were talking, and at some point, I was trying to, because I was hearing that medicine, you could spend 10 years or more just trying to learn how to be a doctor. And I'm like, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. So we kind of had a compromise. I was like, so I started trying to butter her up. I'm like, pharmacy is not bad. Pharmacy is not bad. Pharmacy is not bad. And she was like, you know what's bad? No, close medicine, pharmacy medicine, close. Yeah, you know.
Close medicine.
Yeah.
That's the most Nigerian mother.
See.
Like.
So she's like, pharmacy, close medicine, bad. And then what I did, she didn't find out. But when I applied, so I went to Unilag. When I applied, I didn't get, so when the first list for pharmacy students came out, I didn't get on the list. So I went behind her back and I applied for a change of course. And I changed to botany. And then I got botany. And then I went back and told her that, so my name didn't come out on pharmacy, but I saw my name on botany. I didn't tell her that I actually applied to get botany. She still probably doesn't know. She's probably never going to see this. Ha ha ha. You know, so. So I went behind her back and changed and applied to get botany. And I did come out on the list for botany. So I told her, like, hey, I got botany. You know, and she was like, yeah, cool stuff. And that's how I went to uni and studied botany. But a little bit of backtracking again, I was a very, very self-aware child. So I was one of those children who knew exactly the things that I wanted to do with my life. And as young as like maybe 6 or 7, I knew the 3 things that were like the biggest passions in my life, and they were food, fashion, music. Not food, fashion, and media. Not in that particular order, but those were the 3 things that were the biggest things in my life. And I'm actually grateful that today I've actually been able to work in all 3 industries, you know, in my own capacity. So it feels like if I die today, I'm going to die today. But if I die today, I will kind of be fulfilled because I've done the things that I was in love or am in love with the most in different capacities. So for food, I was always growing up, I was always the one with my mom in the kitchen growing up. And you know, I'm tasting this, I'm tasting that, and then I'm eating raw tomatoes and all of that, and then I'm putting my hand out for her to give me soup. And then there was one time she was like, "You're begging too much." She was, "Oh, okay, no problem." And then she put this spoon at the bottom of the pot. She's like, "I'll bring your hand," and she put my hand and it burnt it. So yeah, but that was that for food. I started cooking alone like 8. I think the first time I made food alone was 8. That was for food. For fashion, I used to watch a lot of fashion documentaries. When I was younger, I was super interested in fashion. I used to read like Vogue whenever I got my hands on it. And then for media, there were certain people that I just liked to watch. I used to see myself as those people. So when I watched maybe, not really documentaries, when I used to watch like fashion shows and like, you know, stuff like that, I'd be like, this person who's hosting red carpet, I can do that. I can see myself doing that, you know. So those were the things that I saw myself doing. But food for me was always something that I didn't think, there was a mental block that I placed in my head that I thought that if I ever went into food and I transformed it from a hobby to a means of livelihood, I would lose the joy in it. Boy, was I wrong. But that was the major reason why I didn't start food a lot earlier than I did. So I got into uni and fashion was my thing because it was easy. So it was easy for me to express myself with what I was wearing. People thought I was weird, but I was way ahead of like time because I would do something and then a year and a half later people are now doing this thing. I mean, I've moved on to the next thing. And then from there, I made friends who were also into fashion, wanted to be models. I'm like, oh, you know what, let's try to create something. Oh, let's try to create content, try to style the shoot with whatever we had. And then we'll create that. And then, you know, meeting more people. And then I met someone who had like a program for young entrepreneurs who wanted to like advance in whatever they wanted to do, but it was more of the creative side of stuff. So I enrolled, was 25, which was the Queen Martin's company. I went to fashion school for like a bit, for like a year. Yeah, I went to fashion school for like a year in Lagos here in Surulere. I went to fashion school for a bit, and then I got into styling full time. So I got into styling full time in 2014, like late 2013, early 2014. Got into styling full time. I went to fashion school 2014 into 2015, or no, 2015, I'm not exactly sure. Did that, and then I was just like, I became a full-time stylist. It was hard, you know, because don't nobody know you, so don't nobody gonna call you, and then a lot of people are gonna wanna do free work. You know, you have to pay your
exposure.
Dues. You know, because I went to the market and I'm like, oh, how much is this fabric? It's 10,000 naira. Can I give you 10,000 exposures? Ha ha ha. You know, so I did that, and then I worked in fashion for a bit. And I managed to grow. I think till date, the largest project that I ever worked on was Isoken, the movie. Yeah, I worked on Isoken, the movie, and it was absolutely fantastic. The fashion was fantastic. I also worked on Inspector K seasons 1 and 2. For Red TV, I worked on
But I mean, Isoken is a big one.
It's big. It's
Isoken
actually
is a big one, and
that I ever worked on.
now
I worked
I'm
on Waka
going to.
Pass. I worked on a couple of music videos.
Now I will go back to watch Isoken and go to the credits.
Oh, look at me, woman now. What do you mean by that?
Yes,
oh, I'm there. It's there.
I want to see the
It's there. In fact, and like I saw it at the premiere, because you know, crew will get invited. I saw it at the premiere, and because I saw it at the premiere, my friends had gone to see it, but then a couple of them came together and I was like, let us go together and go and watch it. Just so that we can all see your name on the screen together. So nice. And like somebody made a video, I don't know what the video is, the video has lost her. But yeah, you know.
Wow, that's actually, I didn't know all of this backstory. So thank you for sharing this backstory. But that brings me to the next question. How did your parents have a preservation?
Oh, I was a black sheep. I was a black sheep. It doesn't get blacker than me. It doesn't get blacker than me. So the thing is, I would ideally have been the model child. You know, I was smart. My grades were good in primary school. Like from primary 4 to primary 6, I came second. There was just one. It was only one person that came first. Dupe, I can never forget her. Dupe, it was only one person that came first.
You're watching this.
Blocked. It was only one person that came first from primary 4 to primary 6. One person. So I was smart, you know. Even in secondary school. And get this again. So I was smart and overconfident with my smartness because in primary school I never studied. I literally never studied. So I thought that primary school will be fine, secondary school, same money. Boy, was I wrong. So I thought I was just gonna wing it through secondary school. But like my first term in justice when I was 7th. My mother said, was this? 7th in a class of 30? Disgrace. Then second term I came 13th. My mother said, further disgrace. Read, study, young man. And then my mom was still working then, so she was actually studying. It coincided that my third term exam, she was also studying for one of her promotional exams. So she literally forced me to study. My mom would make like a flask of tea and lock herself up in a room for a couple of hours every night. And she was like, we will lock each other inside this room. You see I'm reading, you will read. You see that book, you will pass. And the third term, I came like maybe third. And I came first overall in the entire JSS1 English. And my mom was so excited. She was like, you see? We go, good. Just read your book, study. And for a while, you know, for like pretty much most of secondary school, in fact, for all of secondary school, I was a model child, you know. But you see, once I entered university like this, I said, freedom, that is you. I will lose my mind.
Grow wings.
In fact, the one that is more than wings, I grew.
You grew wings?
Yes.
Oh gosh. So,
my parents were very strict, so it was just an opportunity for me to be as expressive as I could be, you know. And that expression was, it was going left very, very fast because I was doing everything with my hair, locked my hair, braided my hair, did everything, you know, and imagine
you have pictures from that time?
Thankfully, no. I locked my hair for 4 days.
Ow.
There was one time I locked my hair for 4 days. There was one time I braided my hair with cornrow attachments to like my waist. It was really long. I was doing everything and anything. I was just exploring. I was adventuring, and I was having a swell time. But what terrible for like the user experience for a parent.
User experience,
it was terrible for my mom, you know. So it was in uni that I just kept on showing signs that they were like, this is not the boy we knew. I stressed them out. They were so stressed. I felt misunderstood because I saw things completely differently. My outlook on life was very different. They couldn't understand it. And every time I tried to talk about it, they just didn't understand it. So I just stopped talking about it. I just kept to myself. So they couldn't reach me. They felt like I was a lost cause. And to crown all of that up, I was very stubborn. In fact, I am very stubborn. I remember one time I went for a party and I got home really late. I got home like 12:30, like past midnight. I literally had to stay like at my gates.
Wait,
like,
you got to your parents' house?
I mean, it was daring. It was daring. It was daring. I was doing the daring do.
Wow.
Yeah, but I got to my parents' house. Like I got back to my mom's house, like my parents' house at like 12:30. I had to call and beg them. Like, when I heard that my mom was approaching the gate, I just knelt. I'm like, "Mommy, please." And after she had left me outside for like 30 minutes, so she finally came to open the gate like past 1. In my mind, I'm like, no, let me just beg. At least enter the house. Enter the house. See the next one? I said, see this one. This one's spinning you. Do you know what I did next? Picked up my bags, left the house. They didn't see me for 2 months. That was the next thing I did. I left the house. They didn't see me for 2 months. Did us. Went to stay with my friends.
Rotimi, wait.
They were
Did you
calling
just
me.
want to give her hypertension or what?
Yes. No. I mean, yes.
I mean, you came home at 12:30 and
No, I chilled. I tried.
chilled and then you
I
felt
pretended to be a good kid
okay,
for a couple of
what's
weeks.
my next course of action?
You know, like when you were like, I jumped 1 foot today. They were upset. Tomorrow, it will 10 feet.
How old were you then?
19, 14.
I have a theory. Maybe it's that youthful
exuberance.
exuberance because I feel like at that age.
Also, I feel like I peaked early because I got into uni at 15 and like I started being
like,
out there at 15.
I'm
Do you get?
graduated,
Like I'm not a child,
I'm not
girl.
an adult
Miss me with that.
until bills come. Knocking.
So there was a time when I was like 21, I moved out of my father's house. They did not tell me, I ran back after a year. They did not tell me, Musa Pada, Lagos is cost. Stay at home kids. Lagos is cost.
I agree.
Yeah, so cost.
Lagos
not even Lagos, life. You see, as an adult,
life
is cost. Because it's always something. There's always something. There is always
this is a
something.
PSA.
Yes, like public service announcement. Stay at home, kids. Stay in your parents' house for as long as, if they're not cheating you, stay there.
Yeah.
Sit your ass down and
To
stay
be
there.
honest.
Because do you know how much cotton is? Cotton. Do you know how much mattress? Stay at home.
My house, where I live in Canada, I've been there for about, I'll say 10 months. Me too, a couch. I don't have a couch in the house. I have like an armchair, but like a couch, the normal couch that should be in like an adult's house.
Shit is expensive.
I don't have it because it's expensive.
I was at my friend's house a couple of, like, when they just moved into the apartment last year, they wanted to change the sofa. They were paying 400,000 for sofa. They said, don't worry, we'll keep this one. It did not spoil. Yeah. Are we sitting down? We're sitting down. You stay there.
Carpenter to just patch anything that is
so you realize how expensive things are. So like I wasn't told when I feel things are expensive. I ran back my tail between my legs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That makes sense. So at what point did your parents just say, well, no problem?
No more I did. And it's something that I say with pride to an extent. Yes, I'm sorry that my mother can be dramatic, so my mother can shed tears, you know. But like they were actually genuinely stressed. I really did genuinely stress them. But the stress that I stressed them gave because of how strict my parents were, you know, that stressing was absolutely paramount to my freedom of expression or freedom of everything. Because my parents, I strongly believe that my parents would never have been the people to say, oh, you know what, you're an adult now, you can make your own decision. You know, my parents don't do that shit. You know, so I had to take the power from them. I had to show them that get to a point, the best you can do is advise me. Yeah. The best I can do is to take it or not, you know. So if I didn't, and that was the only way that I could do it, because at every point where, and don't get me wrong, my mom and I were my mom was my first best friend, because my mom and I were like 5 and 6. So much so that my dad at some point probably still is jealous. I don't know. Sorry, Dad. You know, but my mom and I were like best friends, so we were really, really cool, and we talked about any and everything until I just started getting older. Also, it's a thing where like every parents to child relationship, it happens. There's a point where you feel like you don't know your child anymore. Yeah. And there's a point where you feel like your parents don't understand you anymore. Like, oh my God, no, don't talk to me like that. Don't touch me. Don't kiss me goodbye. Oh, stop calling me. You know, every child and parent goes through that. So mine was just a little more, maybe not violent, maybe it was a little more grueling, you know, for them. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have had the autonomy that I have right now today. And I've had this autonomy for almost a decade, because I literally, there are times where, like, okay, so I still live in my father's house, by the way, because, again, outside is cost. But, you know, I have a flat to myself. It's my dad's building. So I went on a break on the 27th of last month. Yeah. No, not last month. I need to see the month, because when this thing comes out, it will not be last month. So May. May is before June, yes. Yeah. So I went on to a break on the 27th of May. And you see that 27th of May, I already packed my bags. I'm like, Oda, Arali, Bon Lokabo, peace out. And then my dad and I are like cordial, but we're not like super cool. So my mom, I would tell, like, oh, I'm going to my friend's house in Lekki for a bit. My friend's around from Germany, so I'm just going to stay with her for a bit. And then once I'm in Lekki, leave Lekki. So I kind of give my mom a bit. But what if I told you that from that 27th, and I returned to my house on the 20th, 19th. I returned to my house on the 19th. I did not call my mother for once.
Did she call you?
Did she? No. But whenever she needs information, she'll tell my sister to call me. So anytime my sister calls me, I just know that my mom wants something. My dad is a hard guy. Like, he's a hard guy. He's a very, very hard guy. My father will not call me. But because, again, people will give me gist of what happened when I was not at home, my sister can call me and she'll be like, your daddy was doing bad, but it was like, Shay Ro Rotimi, from Imbolowa. We're worried, is he safe? He's really worried, but you know, he's a bad guy. But in that duration, you know, I went and no communication. Not because I'm trying to be mean, but because it's the last thing on my mind. I'm sorry, to be honest.
Sometimes
I'm just. Do you understand?
You just need that space.
Like even like communication generally deteriorated in that period, and I'm very big on communication. But most of the time, I just wanted to be myself. Enjoy the book I'm reading, or enjoy spending time with who I'm spending time with, or just like spend like 14 hours binge watching my show without having to deal with my phone.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So in that period, in an ideal world, if my mother could, she would have sent a SWAT team because they buy me one more me. Do you understand? Yeah. But because of the development of the relationship over time, I've made them understand. It was very hard making, but I made them understand that I'm my own person. I'm capable of making my own decisions. I'm capable of taking care of myself. You need not fret. Just know that. I mean, maybe not know, but have like some modicum of faith that your son would do the right thing. So and just hold on to that faith. That the rest is for.
But to be honest, I get to do. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Because the same way every child has that period where like, I want my own space, I want my own. I think around like maybe 13 was when I started. I'm a mother.
And see, it makes sense because 13 is the beginning of your teenage years. It's always it's like once the children hit teenage is problem.
Yes. So that time I felt like my mom is just trying to be harsh, she's just this, she's just that. But for like the past, I would say maybe like 5-6 years, now I'm paying my own bills. Now I'm doing, so now I'm not sitting down like.
But it's an absolutely wild, random side note. You realize a lot of things when you're older. Like the older you become, you realize how.
And they don't have to tell you.
Like nobody gonna tell you.
Ding ding. It's like, oh.
I understand this woman.
It
makes sense. It checks out. It checks out. Like it checks out. Yes. Yeah.
A lot of those things. I'm like, she has the point. Like when I was growing up, I felt, she didn't want me to have friends. Maybe she didn't want me to talk to people. She didn't want. There was this guy. That time, when you're 13, when you're already.
If you were a hot girl, you're one in town.
That, collected my number, he would be calling me, all those things. And so there was this day I was in school. I mean, I was like maybe 14 or 15 at this time. I was in school, and my phone was with my mom. I had maybe Sendo, one small phone like that at that time.
Oh my God, nostalgia, Sendo. Yes. I have not heard that thing in like almost 2 decades.
So the guy calls, and I'm at school, and my mom picks the phone and he's like, yeah, hello? And the guy, he didn't know it wasn't me, so he started talking, and my mom is like, Tosi is in school, please don't be calling her at this time, she's in school, blah, 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 blah. And then she just lashes out on the phone and drops the call. So when I go home, she told me, this is what happened. In my mind, I'm like, of course I cannot say it, but in my mind, I'm like, she's so rude, why would she talk to something like that? So she told me, I must never see you talk to that guy again. In fact, block his number. She was so at that point in time, I was like, whatever, clinical. The guy was scared of my mom because my mom can be, she does weary.
Action woman.
So he just fashioned me and stopped talking to me. I was like, well, I'm tired, go. I'm not a serious person. If you're a serious person, you fight for me. That kind of vibe. So a few years later, maybe 4 years later, I think I was already in uni at the time. I just randomly heard gist that the guy and one married woman on our street were...
They were bumping purses.
I was like, at that time, I was like, my mother, you see it. And my mom didn't know this gist. Oh, wow. She actually didn't know this gist at that time.
It was just a parents protecting thing,
exactly. I was like, you're to see me wrong. So I was like, she was like,
and parents would never ever pass up on the show.
Yes.
But
she rich, that's why it's something. But she rich, oh my God. See, anyway.
I'm here to enjoy the life of my head,
So, let's go into the industry itself. Was it hard to monetize?
Which of the industries,
you are in everything. You can choose, whichever one, and you can start from maybe which one was the easiest to monetize, or which one was the first. Because I know that monetizing is a big thing for creatives in Nigeria. It's hard to price yourself.
It's
hard for people to even pay you because they're like, who is this one? And you went to film school and so what? You know, there's always somebody who is ready to do it for a cheaper rate or a cheaper price.
Or for nothing.
Or for nothing, for exposure. So how were you able to just break even, basically? I think that's the, yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with the first thing that actually made me, so I was, in fact, we left one of my bestie's houses and went to drop another bestie and we're talking, and then she was like, oh, it's so wild how, Rotimi, have you ever held a proper job? I'm like, oh yeah. She was like, excuse me, you held a proper job? I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I was a data analyst. She was like, at some point in time in my life.
What have you not
done? Armed robbery, prostitution, not that I won't do that.
Oh my God.
Ritualism.
Because data analysis.
See, it was a thing. But, you know, then, Okolomi young, go fresh. You know, also, you know, for like people who are not Yoruba, you have to be writing subtitles.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's work for you, but,
no problem.
you know. Okay, so, I think the first thing that proper made me money was actually media. I didn't talk about that in my little introduction thing.
Yeah.
I worked as a television presenter for a fashion show on some TV station. It was on cable. It wasn't like very big, but you know, it was great. Now, I remember the audition because one of my friends in uni was working there as a producer. And she just called me. She was like, bro, how far? There's this audition. I want you to come this stage, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, no problem. They sent a script. I'm like, script, error, disaster. Because I don't do well with script. I'm a very natural, go with the flow type of person.
Can you see why I didn't send you anything?
Shut up!
I know!
So I'm a very natural, go with the flow type of person. So they sent me the script. It was a disaster. I tried to pack it in my head. You know, my trip from where I was to the studio, forgot everything. So I get to the studio, and first off, I would have it known that I was giving them fashions. Fashions. Like I give it to them. They saw me and they said, that's the material we need. Because more fashions, right? So I got there looking fantastic. I was like a nice monochrome look, a nice like wide brim hat. And I get there, they mic me up, and your audition is actually going to be taped. But at the same time, there's like a panel of 4 judges. So there are 4 judges, and yay nepotism, because I feel like there was a little bit of nepotism there. Because like the 4 judges, I knew 2 of them are my friends. From like elsewhere. 2 of them are my friends. So I got that, I'm like, got this in the bag.
You know.
So I did my audition. I did my first take, and I obviously started and made like a couple of errors because I forgot what I was supposed to say. So I was like, oh, please, can you guys give me like another moment to just, like, oh yeah, sure, do a second take. So you see that second take, I knew that you have to die on the line. So what I did was, because I'm a winger, or I can be a winger, right? When it comes to like conversation stuff like that, I'm a winger. So what I did was, I remembered the intro, like the beginning. So I did the beginning of the script, and I was talking, and I kid you not, at some point I forgot what I was going to say. Like completely forgot, so blank. I kept on saying nonsense, like I flowed from A to W so seamlessly that you would think that was the sentence. Because I can never forget that the script was about the little black dress, the history of the little black dress, the LBD. And I stopped somewhere. And at that point, I was reading a novel. I think it was Kristen Feehan. It was Kristen Feehan, and it was like a paranormal romance novel. It was about like somewhere in Europe, the Carpathian Mountains. Like I was talking about Little Black Dress, and I just moved into talking about the mountain ranges in Europe and this, that, and I'm not joking. And then I just arrived back at the end. I'm like, so that's the end. It was so seamless.
You are a driver.
In fact, I'm a flyer because it was flying. So it was so seamless. When the mic guy came to take off the mic, he was like, very good. Mr. Cyril, I can never forget, your proper Efik accent. I said, very good. Very good. Have you done this before? I'm like, oh no, I've never. It's my first time saying, oh, very good.
Not the Efik accent.
No, he actually had an Efik accent. I'm not even joking. And it's not even supposed to be like banter. He proper had an Efik accent. You know, I was like, very good. Have you done this before? I haven't. Said, very good. Very nice. Nice job. Took off my mic. The channel manager came from Sound City, so he had experience, you know. And I was like, oh, have you done this before? I'm like, no, it's my first time. That's my first time. I've never done this before. I'm like, oh, I was really good for a first time, you know. This is that and the third, you know. So I did that. I got that job. It was a part-time role, and it was like I was contract staff, so I was doing just one show. It was like chicken change, you know. But I was happy because it was my first consistent pay, and while it was nonsense, it gave me number one, experience, because I was able to learn a couple of things on the job, and number two, it helped me personally refine the craft that I had that was innate at that point. So I didn't have any experience to refine that craft, but that helped me refine the craft, and I did that for over 2 years. So that was like my first proper paying job. But at the same time, I was styling. I'd done my dues with so many free work, free, but I paid my dues with so much free work there. Something happened. My dad was ill, and I was the only kid available to take care of him. I have a sister, but my sister was married at that point and just had a kid. So newborn baby. In fact, she had just left my parents' house from like, oh my God, because my mother was like, I cannot come to your house. Come, let me take care of you. So she just went back she just went back to her husband's house with like a 4-month-old. She didn't have the time. So I was the only person available to take care of my dad. So I actually had to, and he was in and out of the hospital for almost 7 months.
Oh, wow.
So I actually had to take a break from work. I was in the hospital every day with my dad, spent the whole day there running errands and all of that, making sure he was okay. So in that period, people would call me and I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't at the moment because my dad is ill, I'm taking care of him in the hospital. And I'm like, oh, sorry about that, but someone. And I'd refer a friend who, like, I know their work is good. And they'd call me again for another project and I'd still refer. And no hard feelings, because personally, if I reached out to someone twice or thrice and they kept on referring to somebody else, who might just go to the person they were referring anyway. So throughout like almost the entirety of 2018, I didn't work on any like fashion jobs. I didn't do any styling. And it was a very difficult year for me because like the money that I'd saved up, I'd already spent it, but I wasn't working, making more money. And it was a very difficult year. And it was a year of introspection as well, because when my dad was finally okay, he was back home in like August, and then it took like 2 months to fully recover from the surgeries. He started going out in like September, because he was back like first week in August, started going out like last week in September. It was so hard because fashion is such a fast-paced industry, so you have to be constantly like relevant. You have to be constantly in people's faces. They have to constantly remember your name, or else there's like 1 million other people who do, maybe not 1 million, but you get my point. There's like a lot of other people who do the same thing. Some better, some just as good, some not as good, but there will always be someone there to do like your job. So it was very hard trying to get back into the space after having been out of it for so long, and especially because I hadn't peaked proper. If I had peaked proper, like, proper celebrity stylist, and I went away for a bit, I will come back with a bang. Do you understand? But it was hard.
That guy.
Like, oh, he's back. All I need to do is just call a couple of people that my friends, this, that, let's do something, put it out, put it on Instagram, tag this one, tag Bella Naija, back. You are back? Okay, you're back. Well, let's get to work. But it was very hard to do that because I hadn't peaked, I was an upcoming stylist, but I wasn't Motin arrived there. I wasn't really upcoming, but Motin arrived there. But Motin arrived on, so it was very hard. And I had like a dry, like in that 4-month space that I had tried to get back into styling was very difficult, and it wasn't forthcoming at all. But as someone who all of his life had always been the person who would eagerly cook for people, and people had always been the person to say, Rotimi, you should take this seriously. And I'm like, no. That thing that I said about the mental block, I had that mental block there. But I'm the one that put the mental block. I removed it because, jazz up. First, I'll do a little backtrack. There was a very random social experiment a couple of people did, but we're friends today. Somebody put up a tweet, said wanted to just add a couple of random people in the group chat to see what's going to happen. And we did, and then I've become friends with like a good number of them, and we've settled down. I remember the very first time we all met up, I said I was going to cook because I'd always put like, cook this and put a picture in the group. I'm like, you dey cook. So our first official hangout, I actually made food. The food was fantastic. And then one person, particularly Lade, peace out to you, Lade. Lade just made it a point. She was like, oh, well, okay. So when are you going to start cooking professionally? Oh, you're not going to. Okay, no problem. Anyway, we are doing something in my office. We are 35. What can you make for us?
Love it.
She wasn't having that. Oh, I'm not cooking.
No.
She didn't. No. She was like, no. Okay, no problem. And so, what can you do for us? 20 people. Not food, but like finger foodish, but something. And I'll come up with something. I didn't even used to charge her like to make money. I'll just do my breakdown for cost of materials, cost of ingredients, and transportation fare to have the food delivered to her. And that's how much I'll collect. And it was always a hit for like 2 years back to back. Every time there was something happening at work, she would just say, hey, Rotimi, please, this date, this thing, so number of people, I need this, make it happen. And then, same lady December 2018, like November 2018 was, no, December actually. It was as if she just saw a thing. She just called me on it. She was like, hey, listen, one of my colleagues said that her grandfather's birthday, 75th, 80th birthday, they want to do a small party for like 40 people in their house. I gave her your number. I'm just telling you that I gave her your number. Like, there was no, oh, should I give her your number? Like, none of that, So I scrambled. I knew a couple of event planners. I was scrambling like, oh, please, how much, like, we've worked with people that do this type of thing. How much do they charge? What do they do? How do they charge? And, I was able to do it. And I did it. It was nice. It was actually very good. Like, I had a fantastic time. I was tired, but I had a fantastic time. And funny thing is, the girl is still my friend till today, which is so, wild. I had a fantastic time, and it was after that. My mom wasn't even in Lagos. My mom was in Abuja, but I was like always calling her, talking to her, through the whole thing. When I got home back from it, I'm like, I can actually do this thing. Like, this is a thing. This was December 2018. So I said, you know what? We're gonna do it. 2019, January, Shay Ro became a thing. And that's how I started Shay Ro. And it was very hard at first because, beginner. Yeah. But, here we are today. Kitch Bay.
Kitch Beyonce.
In the flesh. Yeah.
I like the fact that you had friends that,
they believed in my shit even when I didn't.
In you. And that's another issue I think creatives have. It's kind of it's a lonely job. It's a lonely world. Yes. And not everybody is a self-starter or a self-motivator. Yes. You always need someone to like push you and things like that. Do you think or do you feel like you're one of the lucky ones that have friends in your corner? Or is it like 70% you just have to push yourself and then after you've done it 70%, 30% your friends just, give you an extra push?
I mean, literally from what I just said, you will know that I'm a lucky person. I'm very, very lucky. And it's weird because I've always felt lucky since I was a child. I've always had people believe very strongly in me. And this is not a monkey no fine by mama like I'm type of thing. The people that have always believed very strongly in what I wanted to do. Even when I was like trying to get into styling, I was my own canvas, right? So that expression for fashion, I was doing it on myself because there weren't many people that were gonna, I didn't think that there was anybody that was gonna trust me to tell them what to wear. But when I started wearing stuff, my friends would be like, what's your outfit? It's like, where did you get it from? I'm like, I got it from here. I'm like, can you help me buy it? I'm like, yeah. How much you get your shoes from? I got it from ASOS. Like then, life was good.
Yeah.
20 pounds was like how much? 1,000, 2,000 something. Life was good, So from the jump, there have always been people that kind of believed in me in whatever different capacities that they did. And then over time, I've been lucky to be continually surrounded by such people. In fact, even more intentional as I've gotten older and all of that. So I've been surrounded with even more intentional people that are like 100% from my craft. In fact, I have like friends who fight me for not doing more than I'm currently doing. I'm like, I can't, like, I feel like I'm already stretched thin, but I'm also trying to do very steady organic growth. I don't want to peak too early and then hang and then crash. No. Yeah. And that's why I've not crashed. I've not crashed in Jesus' name. Amen. No. But that's why I've not crashed, right? Because I've done things at my own pace, very slow, very organically, but I've had a very, very fantastic support system throughout in my friends and weirdly my family, because if anybody told 19-year-old me that my family would be like super supportive of me now, those people, they hate me and I hate them, But I've been really lucky to have very supportive people that would push me and still push me till dates. Like I was ranting to my best friend. I'm like, oh babe, I don't have money, like I have a lot to do. And she was like, oh yeah, I know, but don't you think you should do this, maybe this would help diversify your portfolio and this, because I'm building a kitchen from scratch, foundation building. I've made good progress, but mostly because there's no money on the ground, But so people should come and buy food because I need money.
His link will be
in the bio,
in the description.
What she said, God. Don't worry, I'm coming to join you soon, I'm coming to join you soon. So yeah, like I'm building a kitchen and she's one of the people who reminds me like, it's so easy to not see how, like it's so easy to get lost in how far you've come. But when you think about it, she's always reminded me, I would say something, to me it's just something casual. To the me of today, something casual. But she would just say something and I'm like, 2018 you could never. And it's true because 2018 me could never. So she never fails to remind me of how far I've come. And that in itself is very encouraging because if I look at it and I say, oh, in 4 years I've been able to achieve this. And this person has been there constantly reminding me that you can do it, so do it. And if it is failing, we would help you. We would support you in whatever way we can. So I've been very, very, very lucky. That, yes.
I'm happy for you.
Mo lock out. Even though I've blocked you, Sha, but...
What? I'm a nice person. Why would you block me? Anyway, so before we round up, I want to touch on mental health. Because I think people don't really talk about. I mean, we say it primarily like, oh, my mental health is gonna come, help me come mentally aware, but I don't think we really go deep into how, like, everything as a creative starts from here, and when you are not exactly like mentally, if you're not in the right space mentally, it kind of affects your output. So how have you been able to manage like the mental aspect of everything?
I'm raw dogging it. Like, yeah, I'm raw.
Do you go for therapy?
I don't do that.
You're just like, you know what?
So
we are
here's
on vibes.
the thing. Vibes and inshallah. But the truth is, I actually self-therapize. It's very hard. And to a lot of people it's unrealistic, but I self-therapize. And I think because I almost always therapize like my friends whenever they come to me for something. In fact, it took my best friend to tell me. I've mentioned my best friend like 5 times today. Right? It took my best friend to...
She's a lucky girl.
She's a lucky girl, and I'm a lucky guy. It took my best friend to tell me some things to help to put some things in perspective. She was like, Rotimi, sometimes when someone comes to you to complain, sometimes you just want someone to listen. They don't always need an immediate solution. They don't always need to work their way through what they're going through at the moment. And that made me realize that I'm always constantly self-therapizing because there are times where my mental health is non-existent. It's not even in trenches. It doesn't exist. I'm detrimentally depressed and it will affect work and I'm not sleeping, which will also affect physical health, all of that. And I'm just there giving myself pep talks. I'm like, Rotimi, you know what, you need to do this, you need to do this, because look at it like this, look at it like this. But do you think that this? So, were you silenced or were you silenced? Were you silent or were you silenced? I do that to myself in my head. And people fail to realize how hard it is. Because it's already stressful being a creative. Like, it's just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of stress. You're creative, it's stressful. And a lot of people seem to not take into the fact that creatives actually might have seemed like those star children or those genius children, but it was very difficult for them. As a child, it was extremely difficult for me because I didn't feel like I could actually do almost anything. So it was very difficult to settle down on one thing and say, this is the direction I want to go, because it felt like I was being constantly pulled in every direction. And at the same time, because mental health was not such a big thing back then, I feel like, if I was the child that I was growing up today, I might have been diagnosed with ADHD because, it's hard to keep cohesive thoughts in one direction for an extended period of time or all of that. But it's very, very hard. Little backstory. When I just started Shay Ro, it made me feel, oh my God, what do you mean? Because I'm hypertensive. Yeah, I've been hypertensive for about 5 years. I'm hypertensive, and the first day, I don't know why I didn't break down in tears, because I'm a strong fellow, but tears are good. I would have broken down in tears because I called someone like, oh, please, you have a writer that can work. The first 1 month, and I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I almost died because my BP never came below like maybe 160 over 80 something. Constantly high because writers were stressing me. The very first day I was supposed to send out orders, the writer that was supposed to come by 9 didn't come until 2:30. I made this food down like the entire day. He finally delivered the last one like around 8 p.m. and I had spilled the entire thing in the bag. I had to make another one and send it to the person. and it was the same rider. He came a little earlier. Like, see, I just kept on going from frying pan to fire to inside hellfire to inside lava. Like, it got really bad, and it really affected my mental health. And this is already for someone who is I'm a very deep person, you know, like really think about things a lot, you know. So it was very bad that first couple of weeks until I found my ground.
Am I even cut out for this? Maybe I
doubted
maybe
myself.
I should go back to botany.
I doubted myself so much. At many points I was like, you know, Shimo, my dad would, in fact, for the first 2 or 3 years of Shay Ro, my dad would send me application.
Like,
just in
go
case,
back to 9 to 5.
Just in case, you send me vacancy in this place. Just in case, pay, you know, what you swear.
But did you ever have a 9 to 5 at the same time you were, you know, doing Shay Ro? Was there ever a time like that?
Never.
Do you think you can handle both
at the
same time?
But you know what is wild? Again, I mentioned earlier that I was a very self-aware child. I always knew that doing 9 to 5 was never for me. I always knew that I was going to be a creative. I didn't know that I didn't know that what I was going to be was a creative, but I knew what I was going to be. So do you understand? You know, like if they asked me to describe it,
Creative didn't have a name.
It didn't have a name. Do you understand? So like it's a fairly new age term. So I didn't know that I was going to be a creative, but I knew exactly what I was going to be, and I knew that it wasn't going to be 9 to 5. Never. I knew that office. We go in the morning, come in the evening. Never. Number one. Number two, be tie neck.
I don't even want to imagine
suffocate
the
me, my neck. Never. I would not do that. You know. And another thing that I knew entrepreneurship was for me because I knew I wasn't going to work for anybody. Like in the typical sense of the word, I knew I wasn't going to work for anybody. And entrepreneurship is not a walk in the park. It's like a very grueling journey. But I just knew that this is the thing that is for me. And I knew that by hook or by crook, I was going to do it and do it all right, you know. So even till now that it feels like muscle memory working, you know, running Shay Ro. It feels like muscle memory because it's been going fantastic for like the last 3 years and everything just falls into place like, you know, domino or jigsaw pieces. Even with that, there are still times like all I need for my mental health to tank is like one complaint from a customer. Like, oh hi, the food got to me really late, or something was off about it, you know, because I will be worried. Yeah. You know,
because it's food.
It's food and my reputation is on the line. My reputation, my name, a good name shall not be besmirched. So all of that, but then on top of that, the challenges, it's so multifaceted. You know, we're facing inflation, you know, the country and the government are trying to suffocate you and kill you as much as you can. They are very insensitive, rude customers. You know, you have to handle all sorts. You have to treat everybody
managing people is
it's so difficult job. Because you come up. I tell people that I've been very, very lucky because I've, like, in my 4 years of running Shay Ro, I can count the number of like really nasty people that really set me off. I can count them on like, they're probably not up to 10 altogether, you know. And also bad experiences with clientele, you know, generally either clientele as a person or clientele as like an organization or a body or not. Like I can count the number of times that I've had really bad experiences that would, you know, send me into like a depressive state or have me thinking about my life, you know, all of that. It's been so few and far between. So I've been really lucky. You know, some people haven't been lucky, you know, because they meet all sorts. But also, what do you mean, nice, Tony? To be rude. But
they say customer is always right.
Never. In fact, bless you for that thing. Because I really want to talk about something. People need to understand that everybody has a responsibility. I, as a vendor, as a service provider, I have a responsibility. You, as a customer, you have a responsibility. Don't be unfortunate. Yes, shori buruku. Yes, shori buruku. Don't be stupid. Have some manners. We weren't trained by apes. Have some flipping manners. For God's sake, do your duty. Because it's so wild. Literally, 2 days ago, someone asked, where would I get my food? And I would tell you, oh, you know, I won't give a concise time, but I will give you a time frame. There will be a window. So for this location, you get your food between this time and this time. And I told this boy at 1 o'clock. By 2:30, go take bonje. Why? Because like 4 or 5 different people delayed the rider that was running that route. Do you understand? He will call me and be like, sir, the person at the she's not picking a call. The people at the security gate, they cannot collect it unless they talk to the person. I will send you a DM, I'll call you. Like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Like, so, and this thing is, yes, I understand that there are certain circumstances that are beyond your control, but you owe people respect. You owe people, you know, you should try to be efficient. You know, I'm not saying that you're caught up in a Zoom meeting and you should jump up from a Zoom meeting, you know, or your work meeting. No, of course not. But if you know that you're expecting an order and you go and put your phone on silent and you fling it somewhere and then the rider is at the gate for like 1 hour, it's unfair to both the rider and the other people, like the other people that the rider is going to deliver to. It's unfair to them too, because how would you feel if you were supposed to get your food by 2 and then the rider gets it by 3:10 and you say, sorry, so August, the person I go deliver for, you delayed me for 1 hour. You'll be upset.
Yeah.
So there are certain things, like, I'm not saying you should grovel or whatever, you know, but everybody has their responsibilities, you know. The customer is not always right, neither is the service provider, they're not always right, but everybody has to, if everybody faced their responsibilities squarely and tried to make the other person's job easier, everybody will be happy. So use common sense to do something. Thanks, God bless. I see, and like, I'm so happy that I'm saying this because it's something that I say to my friend all the time, and I don't want to tweet about it because they'll say, oh my God, you know, you're shady people. You'll watch it because I will post it and you will watch it. Let me tell you something. There was some random customer that sent a DM, and so I usually have an order window, right? So if I say this is going to be available on this day, orders close by 9. The reason I'm saying orders close by 9 is so that once it's 9 o'clock, I can collate all the people that are
And plan accordingly.
and, you know, prepare for that number of people, right?
Yeah.
This person will reply 4 or 5 hours. I mean, yes, you have a job. I'm not particularly unemployed, but, you know, yes, you have a job. And then I say, you know, like, I was replying whenever this person could, but I was also busy, so I was replying as when I could, right? And it was past 9. And I say, oh, you know, yeah, it costs this, but I'm sorry, I can't, like, take your order anymore because the window has closed. The window was supposed to be this. And the person goes, it's unfair. Kiniko, you can't say that 9 after I've been texting you all day. I don't live on Twitter. Am I the one that's living on Twitter? You mean I'm on Twitter? I'm a Yoruba. See, I'm a Yoruba man. I will say it, and there are some things that you never see in English. Cooking doing.
No, it's not sweet in English.
It's not sweet.
I mean, of course, I will translate, but
you know, tí bá kí ṣe pé ó ní làákàyè, ó lanu bua, ó sọ pé are you living on Twitter? Èmi ni mò ń gbé Twitter. Èmi ni mi ò níṣẹ́, èmi ni ò ní èèyàn. Oh, stupid now. And I wasn't having it. And I say, that's not how to talk to anybody, vendor or otherwise. You don't speak to people like that. It's very rude. And the person dropped some half-ass apology, but I was over it. I'm like,
so you didn't take our order?
I'd rather die. How much are you giving me? Better get lost, please.
Will?
I mean, maybe if you're paying me like a couple of millions, then. But even at that, I'm very fussy about things like that. And I go on Twitter, like I go on the TL, and I say, some of you, like I literally tweet, I'm like, some of you don't have manners. Please, don't bring it to me because I will send you back home to your mommy. This person,
She replied,
yes, says, oh, I hope this tweet is not for me. Oh! Child, Lord have mercy, because I was going to go in, I was going to read you to filth. I was going to drag you to hell. But, nah, I'm not even joking. In my mind, I'm like, I literally took a screenshot and I sent it to my best friend. I'm like, bitch is trying me. And I will not pretend she was like, Rotimi, no. Because my best friend actually works in customer, like, success, the customer. So that's like, she has like 6-7 years experience. So she's like, Rotimi, you don't say that. I'm like, so you're a customer, I will say that to you because you're stupid. She was one who pacified me because I was ready to risk it all and I would have gotten dirty with her. I'm very, like one thing that it's one of my biggest pets, I hate rudeness because there's no reason to be rude. Like, it doesn't take anything from you to be polite. Don't grovel, of course. I wouldn't grovel. I'm not saying to be grovel, but be polite. Treat people with basic human decency. Do you understand? So I was ready to insult her generation, insult her ancestry, insult her future lineage. I was ready.
Well, thank God for
my best friend though. It's COVID.
I think it's good because I think a lot of creatives don't understand that aspect. Yeah. Crisis management as a creative is another thing.
It's a thing. It's like some people need to learn it. Yeah.
Because imagine if you actually like went all off on art and then people on Twitter are like.
But you know what I would have done?
What?
We take a screenshot of the receipts.
No, the thing is,
like you don't speak to people like that. You don't.
But there are cases like that where the creative goes and at the end of the day,
the creative at fault on. Yes, I understand that. So for me, I know that I'm not going to use myself as a yardstick for everybody, and I'm not going to generalize. But for me, I'm a very, very intentional person. I'm almost obsessively intentional. So in relations with my friends, with customers, with everybody, I'm very intentional. There's no, never to be caught slipping. Do you understand? No matter how nonchalant I am, I would be intentional about certain things. So that is one thing, being rude, you'll never catch me being rude. I'd rather die. You'll never catch me being rude. It's just something that I'm completely averse to. And it's also not just on the being rude, it's also on receiving rudeness. I'm averse to it as well. So I will not take rudeness from anybody because there's no reason to be rude. And this is what I'm saying about how everybody has a responsibility, right? As a customer, as a vendor, as a service provider, everybody has a responsibility. Even I've had times where my service was shitty. I'm not, insulting people. I'm not saying nonsense to people. I'm complaining bitterly, but I'm not demeaning people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So things like that, I will not condone. And in that situation, if I'd actually, again, I'm very grateful that I didn't because, frankly, it's beneath me. But I'm very grateful that I didn't. But if I did, I would have regretted nothing. Because you deserved it. But in that situation, I feel like I would have been justified. People are like, you know what, you don't talk to people like that, truly. So, yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap up, before we go into fire questions, which is the last thing, that's probably 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, do you want to japa? Are you on the japa wavelength? Because everybody wants a japa.
Everybody wants.
Do you want a japa?
I don't think I want. So I'm not saying that I can't. And I feel like it's an existential crisis question that I deal with a lot of the time because a lot of my people are leaving and I want, I feel a little blocked. A lot of my people are not here, but I feel like for me, my biggest fear is uprooting myself, starting afresh in somewhere where you almost technically have nobody and nothing. You have a system. Doesn't mean the system's particularly going to favor you, but there's a working system. I think that's my biggest fear. I've built something that I'm not particularly willing to let go of yet. Maybe in the future, nearest future, maybe I will get to that point where I would feel like I can let it go or run it simultaneously in tandem. So maybe if I have a team that's dedicated enough that that I can trust to keep Shay Ro alive and kicking, then I would go and do Shay Ro Canada brand. But for now, no, Japa is not in my plans.
Honestly, it makes sense because even for me,
I need more Kokishi, more foundation.
Japa.
Oh, what do you mean?
Japa is not easy.
It's not
because
and it's so. And then again, because I have a lot of friends who have done that over the years. I know how it's a grueling process.
For the first 5 years, you are just trying to balance.
You are just floating.
You're floating for
floating,
the first 5 years.
guy.
It takes time.
And then it also depends on where you're going to because. Example, immigration and naturalization. Immigration is stressful in Canada, but naturalization is easy. It's one of the easiest places to naturalize in.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not easily accessible for everybody. A lot of people are like, Japa. Do you know how much it costs? It costs a lot of money. It's a lot of stress, procedure, and it's a lot of patience and adura and prayers. Because you will meet every criteria, but they'll give you a la.
Yeah.
And some of you would just vibes and inshallah, and then.
And there are 2 million other people waiting as well.
More like 200.
2.4 million.
Oh no, that's for just one country.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's 200 million people. There's probably 100 million people also actively trying to leave. Yeah. Jump ship, the sinking ship, which is Nigeria.
So really think about it.
So think about it. I'm in no way discouraging you, but it's going to be hard. And there's no mommy, daddy, auntie, uncle, you know, or my guy from uni that's gonna like fall back, you know, have your back, because
My bro,
everybody,
you're on your own.
you are very on your own, because everybody is actually like, it's as hard as it is for you, it's hard like that for other people. So they don't even like, they want to help you, but they don't have the
they are
space
struggling
to help because they're
themselves.
struggling. So imagine you not knowing how to swim and you want to save somebody from drowning. You're drowning. That's the logic. Thanks and God bless.
Okay. Okay. Just from our crew.
Let's have it.
So now, you seem like someone who likes to, you know, do a bit of everything, you know, behind fashion.
He wasn't here when I talked about that.
No, he wasn't here.
Yeah.
He's into fashion, food, media.
Into everything and everything. So now, I'm looking at it like, how do you know when to scale and not affect one business? Like, now you're building a kitchen from
Scratch.
which is awesome. But how do you do this without affecting other things you
Are passionate
really
about.
care about, especially in a stupid city like Lagos, where everybody wants to be mad?
So I mentioned earlier that I'm very big on organic growth. There are milestones that I've achieved in 2022 that I couldn't achieve in 2019 when I just started off, right? So one thing I'm not afraid of, okay, actually, I'm afraid of scaling. But the thing is, I feel like that is more on me as a person, because for all intents and purposes, I'm still an SME, I'm still a small to medium scale business, you know, enterprise, and I'm an obsessive person. Not in a bad way. I don't stalk people, please. You're in Shay. But I'm very obsessive. I'm very obsessive when it comes to detail and quality. And it's the reason I haven't relinquished doing certain things in like the procedure or process or just the day-to-day running of Shay Ro. It's the reason I haven't relinquished certain things because I'm mortified at somebody doing it shoddily. You know, I'm used to do this thing, you're not doing it well, leave it, I'll do it myself, you know, because I want it done a certain way and I don't want a drop in quality. However, I'm trying to put in place a couple of things that would have Shay Ro running mostly independently of me, and it in its own right is scaling. You know, so I'm trying to put in place a couple of things that will have Shay Ro running independently of me, so that I can do a couple of other things. Example, styling. Like, I really want to go back to styling because I feel like my first love was actually fashion, right? I want to go back to styling. And, you know, I have friends who are stylists, or like fashion people, or just people who just loved like my work. And I'm like, when are you coming back to me? Like, you know, I'll come back to styling on my own terms. So I'm scaling, right? But very slow and steady. I'm doing it at a pace where I know that I will not crash and burn as a brand and as myself, and it will not affect any other thing that I'm trying to do. Also for styling, going back to styling, I'm going to go back to styling completely on my own terms. If it is to self-fund, just to create the kind of stuff that I want to create, not commercially, or like if nobody calls me to make money from it, yes, fine. But as difficult as scaling is, it's definitely something I'm actually working on. Very slow, very steady, very meticulously, but I'm working on it.
What of media? Do you want to go back?
Oh, by the grace of God, yeah, I actually really want to go to media. In fact, this month I went somewhere. Where did I go? I went for a wedding, then I ended up somewhere at somebody's birthday party, and I bumped into one of my colleagues from TV, and he was a camera guy. Wasn't a camera guy, I don't remember. And I was like, oh, you know, it's been so good to see you. I mean, he also, you know, left and went to go and do 9 to 5 because he needed money.
And Eleni.
And Eleni, you could be back, right? But you know, he was like, Rotimi, it's so good to see you. Why aren't you in media anymore? And I'm like, you know what, I love media, but, you know, certain industries have their ups and downs, toxicity, and I don't used to kiss anybody's ass, so I don't know how to do it. In fact, that's probably why I didn't peak earlier than I did when I was a stylist.
So there's a lot of kissing ass.
He's there, and I can't do it because it's like, it's so raz. It's actually so raz, God, you know. So, but yeah, ultimately, I feel like I would like to get back into media, but at my own pace. And I feel like, for me, again, so everything is at my own pace because it's a healthy way to progress. It's a very healthy way to progress. So, I'm optimizing for content, YouTube content in like a year or two max. Probably when I'm done with my kitchen, because my kitchen is actually also going to be my studio.
Yeah.
So I'm optimizing for that, and if my re-entry into media is going to be via like self-curator content, then so be it. So because if I'm doing like YouTube and I can diversify my portfolio from maybe just food to talk, doing like multiple things through YouTube, it's a win-win for me.
Because everybody's on YouTube, everybody's watching YouTube, everybody's watching online content now.
Yeah.
And I think you actually have the personality for it.
I'm having it. I do usually do.
That you are going to do great. In fact, I'm surprised
that I haven't, right?
that you don't have a YouTube channel
Right.
or some sort of like media platform where you are really putting yourself out there and speaking.
Yeah, I'm working on it. So I'm quite, again, I've said it before, I'm quite fussy, so I feel like I want everything to be perfect. And I know that you don't have to wait till everything is perfect before you start, but you know, I'm one of those people. Don't worry, I will give you the advice that I may not necessarily follow, but you know, don't wait till everything is perfect, but I would like to wait till everything is perfect. But you know, when the time is right. There's nothing wrong in that. If that is what is your thing, yes. You know, a lot of people just say, you know, start and you learn on the job, or you go with it and you improve. Yes, it works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. Figure out what works for you and then just go with it. For me, I want, see, from the jump, I want to be a bad bitch, never to be cut off fresh. Do you understand? But bad bitch is cost. Yeah. It's cost. So yeah, but yeah, I'm optimizing for YouTube. In fact, I've been telling this people, I'm like, oh yeah, soon. It's always been a grand plan of mine.
Maybe you will need me, like Lale, to just open the YouTube channel for you. Put your name, do banner, do everything. So
I am dying.
This is the link.
But
post video.
Just maybe that is because sometimes, you know, even self-motivators need a jump start, you know.
I agree.
Superwomen also need Superman. No, even Superman also needs Superwoman. Well, the two of them need each other. So that's it.
I've never said this out loud, but I'll probably say it here because I mean, it's Creative Lounge. We're pouring out our hearts. I feel like I am one of those people who, it's not perfect. It's not like the content I'm putting out is not like this is not what I want. It's not up to the quality or the like what I want to put out. But I'm just like, you know what, this is what I can make do with now. So I'm just going to you know, push this content out. I mean, look at Elsa Majimbo. She made bank with iPhone 6 camera quality. And even though, I mean, I don't think...
Sorry.
I'm not an...
I'm looking for humility. I love her so much.
Yes. And even though, of course, I'm not that Elsa Majimbo, and there's a quality of content that, you know, I've always been like, this is what
you've aspired to have.
Aspired to have. I also know that quality is...
It's expensive. It's not expensive. Unattainable, but it's hard to attain.
And I'm an adult with bills.
With responsibilities.
So, honestly, that's why I like your advice, even though you're not taking it yourself. But hypocrisy. I think that is also another reason why I'm not just stopping cold turkey. Like, okay, I'm not going to create content again and post it until it's perfect. Because I want to sit back and watch my story unfold. Like, yes. I want to go back and
also, you can't even, I don't even think you should do that. Like saying quitting cold turkey until it's perfect.
It
robs you of the opportunity to grow and refine yourself until you get to that perfection that you're aspiring to.
I'm like, I want to be able to go, like right now, I go back to some videos that I created like maybe last year. In fact, some videos I created maybe yesterday, I'm like, you have the guts to post this? Like, why?
No, but I love it. I love it because I, as your friend, and it's not because I love you or anything, but just like it's warming to see your growth. It's warming to see what you're doing because you went from being Tosin, right, to you stop using black soap to
see?
No, see, Tosin is the biggest advocate of stop using black soap. I'm sorry, I still use black soap, sir. I mean, not on my face though, but
I would say, even, you know, I went through phases, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I went through the phase of using black soap. Your face is gone.
See, on Twitter, like if y'all follow Tosin on Twitter, because I've followed Tosin on Twitter for like 4 years. If you follow Tosin on Twitter, because I think we were following each other before Shay Ro started, so it's been like 5 years. Tosin, black soap. I'm sure that if you go and type Tosionlani
And
and type black soap, you will see. Like, see, you don't see a picture like this.
Like people used to message
black soap, you will burn. You will catch fire. Your face will look like Kankoshaka.
If you exfoliate every day, your face will burn. And
Nah,
when you actually
but it's fantastic
message me-
because it is like, even me, someone who has not been, like, I'm not an esthetician, I'm not a skincare specialist, but I have learned a couple of things from, like, as low-key as, like, you are the reason I stopped using black soap on my face.
Oh.
I use it on my body because it's fantastic for
Yeah.
my skin, actually, but I don't use it for my face.
Plus, even the skin on the body is, it can take.
It can take more
Yeah,
than the
than
face.
face.
You're the reason I stopped using black soap on my face.
And people used
So,
to message me that they used to see me in my dream. Like somebody actually messaged me that she came back from work, she was so tired, she was about to sleep, and then she remembered to something. And I'm like, okay,
that's a little extreme.
that's a little extreme. And the thing is, I mean, you've met me. I'm actually not that kind of person.
Nah,
You
super
born, you
chill.
born. A lot of
Nah,
those things.
super chill.
I just used to say it for fun, like just
But
so
it's hilarious.
it registers
It's
in
hilarious. But
people's
the
heads.
thing is, regardless of your delivery, the message is being passed across. Like whether people say, "Hey, my God, my face is going to burn because Tosionlani said so," or they just remember and be like, "Oh, yeah, this girl is funny, but maybe she's telling the truth." You know, like however they interpret it, the message is being passed across. Black soap is bad for your face. Do you understand? So even if they're going to remember it either fondly or scarily or in whatever way, they remember it. And that's the most important part because that little impression you're leaving is doing what it's supposed to do. High five.
Sure, I mean. Okay, so flash questions. I'm going to ask you a question and you have 10 seconds to answer.
Who is counting? Yeah.
I'll
Is it your
be
10
count-
seconds?
I'll
The
be
one that
counting.
counts.
Okay,
yeah,
first question. 2 countries that starts with the letter F.
Finland, France.
Wow, you have me the book. Okay. I am something. I'm 2 in the corner,
I hate this thing.
1 in a room, 0 in a house, but 1 in a shelter. What am I?
You are homeless?
I literally said the same thing. Like before you came, my husband said, okay, this question you want to ask you to. Let me even see if you know it. And then he asked me and I said, okay, you're homeless. So, I am 2 in a corner, 1 in a room,
2 in a corner. Are you a rat? No. Okay, 1 in a room.
0 in a house,
0 in a house.
but 1 in a shelter. What am I?
Give me your mom. I don't know. I don't do it. I skip. Next.
The letter R. Oh, we're going to ask for a corner.
Corner.
2
1 in a
R's.
room.
1
0
in a
in a
room,
house.
0 in a house.
You are Raz. Get lost. Get away from this place.
Oh my god. Okay, next question. Which word in the dictionary is always spelled incorrectly?
Eh? Báwo mo ṣe fẹ́ mọ̀?
Which word in the dictionary is always spelled incorrectly?
Incorrectly? Incorrectly.
Okay, yeah. That's the answer.
That was absolutely random, mate.
Even me, I don't know how I'm like, okay, correctly. No, like,
Wait, that's actually the correct answer.
yes, because it's spelled
Incorrectly.
So, what is something you can keep after giving to someone?
Eh, a piece of your mind?
Why are we in sync? I said the same thing, but that's not the answer.
Oh, it's not? Keep after giving to someone. I don't know, fuck now. That ain't money.
10, 9,
Advice?
8, 7.
It's not a physical thing, is
They are
it?
close. 6,
Advice, opinion.
5, 4,
I give up.
3, 2, 1. Your word.
Go and face the wall. Go and face the wall.
Okay. Last question.
Which is weird because I literally said this thing yesterday night.
Oh, you actually told someone.
To you.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the conversation we had last night?
Yes, I remember. Bele? Last question. What is so fragile that saying its name
My heart.
breaks it? I said the same thing.
Wait, saying its name breaks
Breaks it.
it? A secret? Trust? No, it's not trust. That's not saying.
I mean, secret is a...
Oh, fragile, no.
It's a close... Well, I can't really say secret, yeah, but anyway, you're close.
It's close to secret. I have no
I'll
idea.
give you a clue. It's
Okay,
a 7-letter word.
What a concise clue. What a concise clue. Can you get
You
away
don't
from
know
this,
the
please?
answer.
I don't.
Silence.
Repeat the
What is so
question.
fragile that saying its name breaks it? Like if you're quiet.
Get away from it. Go, get lost. Block my number. Lose my number.
Thank you so much, Rotimi, for coming.
Had a fantastic time. Absolutely
so much for
fantastic
coming.
time. Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys so much for watching. This is my first guest on this show, and more to come.
Premiere episode, pilot. That's how we do over here. Can your fave ever? I don't think
Anyways,
so.
it's about
Maybe
to
the
be-
culture, but
It's supposed to be in bloopers. Anyway, thank you guys so much.
wow.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Creators Lounge.